Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining the Cyber Pathways Navigating your Career Pathway this afternoon. We're delighted to welcome you. We've got a number of speakers lined up who've got some fascinating presentations and will give you some real insights into starting a career in cybersecurity and some of the pathways that are available to you. So basically giving you new avenues to research and explore. First up, I'd like to introduce our panelists and also our sponsor. So first up, we have our sponsor, ISC Squared, Dr. Sanjana Mehta, who is basically Advocacy Director in the UK for within ISC Squared. She will be taking the first presentation. Followed up, we have Kaylee Tobel from Lloyds Banking Group, who will be having a chat with you about some of the initiatives that they run within Lloyds Bank, particularly with reference to getting more women into security. So that's going to be a very interesting discussion. We also have Professor Gaurav Malik from the University of East London. Again, delighted to have you on board, who will be having a chat with you about sort of career paths and going from school to university to the workplace. We also have a final presentation, which is a pre-recorded slot from Chris Dunning-Walton at InfoSec People, and he will be basically giving you a recruiter's view of how you can get into cybersecurity and what pathways you can take. So with a bit of housekeeping, we're going to be doing a Q&A session at the end of the presentations. So what we would ask is if you've got a question, submit it through the Q&A, and we will put it to the panel, and we will endeavour to answer all of your questions as soon as we can. If for time reasons we're unable to answer your question, what we will do is we will then look at launching a blog and some discussion on our LinkedIn page to answer any further questions you have. So stay tuned, and yeah, we look forward to speaking with you all in due course, I'm sure. Firstly, then I'd like to hand you over to Dr. Sanjana Mehta, who will be basically, she'll be introducing the first presentation. And please, away you go.
Great, thank you very much, Neil. I'll just share my screen in a moment and share the presentation, so bear with me, everyone. Right, Neil, can I just check that you're able to see the screen, please?
Yes, absolutely perfect. That's all working.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sanjana, and I'm the UK-based Advocacy Director at ISC Squared. In my role, I work with public policy makers and government leaders to promote the profession and also to advance, good cybersecurity policies, practices, and laws. It's great to be here with you this afternoon to share a few insights about cybersecurity training, education, and careers. So firstly, for those of you who may not already be aware of us, here is a quick overview of ISC Squared and what we do. We were established, ISC Squared was established just over 30 years ago. Our founders saw a need for standardization and certification in the cybersecurity industry. And over the last 30 years, our founders and members have worked very hard to shape the cyber and information security industry. We are the world's largest not-for-profit association of certified cyber professionals. Our members work, on the front lines of cybersecurity in a range of sectors and career levels. Our mission is to inspire a safe and secure cyber world, and we do this by helping professionals affirm their knowledge in a broad range of cyber domains. Along with that, we also provide opportunities for our members to gain continued professional development throughout their careers. And most importantly, we are an advocate for the profession. So we ensure that our voice is heard, our members' voice is heard when it comes to cybersecurity, legislation or industry level discussions about the role that cybersecurity plays in our lives. We have over 160,000 members in over 170 countries, and as well as a very vast chapter network. Now, I'd really like to underscore the importance of our chapter network, especially to those of you who are looking to join this profession. Within the UK, we have got 6 chapters. You don't need to be a member to participate in our chapters. And these chapters provide an excellent fora for networking, getting up to date with latest knowledge, best practices in cybersecurity. So if you're interested in gaining more knowledge about the industry, how it works, what sort of roles, I'd really encourage that you look at, participating in the chapters. When it comes to qualifications and certifications at ISC², we've got a comprehensive suite of certifications to suit different contexts, career levels, and sectors. So those of you who are interested in working as cloud security practitioners, for example, may be interested in CCSP. We've got HCISSP, which is very much targeted at cyber practitioners who are working in the healthcare sector. Now, looking at cybersecurity, I'd like to really signpost 2 fundamental challenges that are taking place. So, firstly, as our engagement with digital and online services continues to increase, in almost every aspect of our life, our data also becomes more vulnerable to cyber attacks, to data breaches. In fact, this statistic from Privacy Rights shows that there have been nearly 12 billion data breaches since 2005, and these are just the data breaches which were publicly disclosed. So it's a pure and simple fact that the cyber threat landscape is continuously evolving, becoming more challenging, and organizations are working really hard and need to work really hard to keep their critical assets secure and to provide assurances to their customers, individuals, partners, that their data is being kept safely. In order to do all of this, organizations need a variety of tools, technological resources, but most importantly, people. And that brings me to the second fundamental challenge in cybersecurity, which is that we just don't have enough people working in this sector. And I'd like to draw your attention to this staggering statistic of the global workforce shortage of 3.12 million people, as our annual workforce study has found. So our research has estimated that there are currently 3.5 million people working in cybersecurity, and that needs to increase by 89% to meet the global shortfall. So when we look at how that shortfall distributes across the world, you can see from this heat map, for example, in Europe, we need another 168,000 people. Even just in the UK, we need at least another 27,000 people to meet this shortfall. So, this is of no surprise, but again, as economies start to grow, more sophisticated technological advancements come into the market. There's a huge surge in demand for cybersecurity practitioners. And what this data shows is that the supply is not keeping up with the demand. Therefore, there are huge opportunities in cybersecurity profession. And I can imagine that many of you in the audience, have joined this webinar precisely for that reason, because you've identified opportunities in the sector and you want to know more about, your pathways into and your pathways through the sector. So Just a couple more comments about this shortfall. We in our research, we wanted to understand sort of how pervasive, is this shortfall. And we found that over 2/3 of the organizations that participated in our research said to us, we simply don't have enough people, I just don't have enough people on my cybersecurity team. And so we wanted to understand the impact of that shortage. And we found that over 50% of the people we spoke to in our research said that this shortage of staff in their cybersecurity teams is putting their businesses at moderate or even extreme risk of cyber attacks. So on the one hand, you've got a huge need for digitization. And on the other hand, the growing, obviously, it's really important to keep our critical assets secure. But the most important, the fundamental point about having enough people to be able to, do this is a huge challenge. So we've established that, cyber threats, cyber risks are not going away. We've also established that the sector has got huge growth potential in it. Now, let's turn our attention to look at, should you join the sector, what are the, what's the profile and the backgrounds of the individuals that you will be sharing your journeys with? So in the next few slides, I'm going to present some insights from our research on, profiles around the cybersecurity professionals. And I'd like to bring your attention to the education profile. So in our research, we found that, most of the participants, had a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. So we're finding that obviously university education seems to be a dominant aspect of individuals pursuing cybersecurity profession, but it's also important to note that those are not the only pathways into entering the sector. We had small but notable percentages of individuals entering the sector after a high school diploma or an associate's degree. So I just want to underscore that there are many ways of entering the profession, and it is not always through a bachelor's or a master's degree. Now, looking at the age distribution or demographic of the individuals who are currently in the sector, so we find that millennials make up the largest proportion, and that's good as boomers start to retire. It's important to have a talent pipeline replacing them. But what I'd like to underscore on this slide is that Gen Z make up, a minuscule proportion of the current cybersecurity practitioners. For the moment, that is unsurprising because I imagine many of them are still in education, completing their education, thinking about career paths. But that's a part of this, the slice of the pie that we need to continue to monitor, need to continue to keep our eyes on to ensure that, we have enough people joining the sector. We're growing that talent pipeline. I mean, we're already struggling in the face of a global shortage of cyber workforce. And we don't want that to get amplified by not enough, individuals from the Gen Z generation joining the sector. So in terms of the certifications held by current cybersecurity practitioners and the skills that they'd like to develop, we found from our participants that these were the 11 most commonly occurring certifications in their certification portfolio. And it was also interesting that 49%, just under half of our research participants said to us that their employers require them to hold a vendor-specific certification. So that would be, certifications from Microsoft, Cisco, and so on. But equally, 47% of the participants said to us that their employers require them to hold vendor neutral certifications. So that would be the likes of CISSP, CISM, CompTIA, and so on. Just goes to show that there is a place for there is an important place for all of the different types of certifications, depending on the context that individuals are working in, the requirements of the employers. And looking at this next chart, which is the needed skills to develop in the next couple of years. So our current cybersecurity practitioners said to us that the skill that's on the top of their list to develop, their wish list to develop, is cloud security. I should point out that interest in cloud security has always been high, and given what's happened over the last 12 to 18 months with workforces around the world transitioning suddenly and entirely to work from home, this is not a surprising result. However, the interest in cloud security in this year's study has been even higher than the last 3 studies that we have run. So moving on to the value of certifications for all. So we were interested to find out, what place do certifications hold in this cybersecurity career journey? What does it mean to individuals at different career levels? And if you see this chart on the left side of the screen, our participants said to us that, certifications are valuable, and they're valuable across the board. The numbers suggest that they might be slightly more valuable for junior members of the team, for staffers, compared to the C-suite. However, they are important for C-suite as well, especially, we heard themes such as certifications help individuals improve their communication strategies, help improve their confidence and skills in dealing with organizational leadership on the importance of cybersecurity. So just to reiterate over here that certifications play an important role across the board, regardless of an individual's career level and seniority. Now, why are they important? So I mentioned confidence as an important theme that came out in our research, and you can see that from the statements that were selected frequently in this research, that gaining greater confidence in security strategies and practices, confidence and validation of staff expertise, greater confidence among customers and clients, all important benefits and impacts of certifications. For leadership as well, confidence was a key area. So stronger skills in key cybersecurity areas, greater confidence and ability to meet security challenges, and current knowledge of security and privacy trends were the top 3 most important, impacts or benefits of certifications. And I'd really like to draw your attention to this important point about current knowledge. Cybersecurity, as we know, is constantly evolving and changing. New tools, processes, technologies are coming into this sector. Holding a certification ensures that those individuals, well, there are 2 things. Firstly, individuals need to maintain continued professional education points so that facilitates knowledge building, best practices, keeping up to date with best practices, but also, of course, certifying bodies offer other types of opportunities for knowledge development, such as conferences, webinars, chapter networks, and so on. So it's really, I think that's a really valuable role that certifications play for individuals in cybersecurity. And we found out that, to work as a cyber practitioner, you don't always have to have a cyber security or information security related job title. We found, an increasingly diverse array of IT related job titles that emerged in our research. So lots of individuals with IT job titles were spending at least 25% of their time on cybersecurity tasks. And this shows, if we talk about kind of pathways into cybersecurity, this shows that nice complementarity between IT and cybersecurity. So definitely something for current IT practitioners to consider if they are interested in cybersecurity. So what we've done so far is we've established that cybersecurity as a profession is a booming and growing sector. We've had a look at, what the types of educational experiences, job titles, certifications that current cybersecurity practitioners bring with them to this sector. Now let's look at, and I think the next few slides will be very interesting to those of you who are just starting out on your journey and considering, those early steps into cybersecurity. So we asked our research participants who are current cybersecurity practitioners to tell us what they would recommend in terms of technical concepts and non-technical areas, for example, soft skills, as being important or keys to success in this profession. So we asked them to give us their views on a range of attributes, and we produce these weighted lists. Firstly, let's just talk through the technical concepts. So once again, cloud security figures very much on the top of the list. If you recall, in a few slides previously, we saw that current cybersecurity practitioners want to develop their cloud security skills, but awareness of and familiarity with cloud security is something that they're recommending to individuals who are starting out on their cybersecurity journey. So through this list, I won't read it out, but you can see that there's a wide variety of technical concepts here, starting from cloud security through to very specific things like backup and storage. And moving our attention to soft skills. So what's happening in this area? What this tells me is that cybersecurity practitioners are recommending a wide range of soft skills to the pursuers, from problem solving, analytical thinking, critical thinking, creativity. None of these skill areas should really come across as a surprise. I think they're relevant, well, not just to cybersecurity, but across various disciplines and various roles and contexts. I think these soft skills would stand any individual in good stead. But the key point I'd like to focus on here is cybersecurity is not just technical, and often when we look at job descriptions, or when people kind of talk about, how they need to bolster their skills and prepare themselves for cybersecurity, the focus very much seems to be on technical concepts. But what this research is showing and is reminding us, don't forget the soft skills. Ensure that you continue to work on those soft skills as well, because they are just as, and in some cases, probably even more important than the technical concepts. Now, an interesting element of our study was we reached out to, so this is from our, sorry, I should have mentioned that this data comes from our cybersecurity pursuer study, which we completed earlier this year. And the main intention behind that research was really to follow the pursuer's journey. Understand from them, understand from the worlds that they're operating in, what are their early experiences. And so one of the questions we posed to them in the research was, tell us what you think the first few years of your cybersecurity journey, what will the first few years of your cybersecurity journey look like, or be like? And these are some of the, sort of important themes, common themes that emerged from the data. So I'm going to talk through some of these. The first thing was just about not knowing what to expect. This was slightly different, of course, for those who had an IT background, because the individuals, who already had some IT experience had a little bit, I would say, better idea of what their first 3 years might look like. But there was a lot of, I just don't know what the first few years are going to look like. There was a consensus view that these individuals would be starting out from scratch. So regardless of what their previous experience, has been like, the expectation was that they would be given basic tasks to begin with, and they would gradually build confidence through those basic tasks to move on to more complicated, more complex tasks. There was a very definite sort of view amongst the pursuers that, and an expectation, I should say, that, they would be given and they would need training, and this was of two forms. So on the job training, shadowing their team members, managers, and so on. But also importantly, there's an expectation that they will get help with certifications, with pursuing certifications. Perceived barriers. While we've seen that there's a huge opportunity in the cybersecurity sector, and our global workforce shortage estimate at 3.12 million, the growing demand for cybersecurity in all organizations is on the one hand happening on the one hand, which is great news for the profession. But on the other hand, the pursuers also said to us that despite all those positive indicators, they expected their job search to be difficult. Most of the pursuers we spoke to, regardless of sort of their previous qualifications or backgrounds, were aware of the basics of the cyber threat landscape. So, they were aware of kind of the main issues, the main challenges in cybersecurity. And last but not the least, and this was a really encouraging and really sort of, heartwarming finding from this research, that the pursuers were really passionate about, getting into cybersecurity. So, despite the perceived barriers, despite the assumption that they would be starting from scratch, they were very committed and motivated, about joining the sector. So this is what we learned from the pursuers and what they said to us, what they think the first few years of their cybersecurity professional journey might look like. Let's go on to see what the actual practitioners said to us, what their first few years were actually like. So to make some comparisons and see what the similarities and differences are. So this is the professional's actual journey. So if you recall from the previous slide, the pursuers said to us, they would be starting out from scratch and doing some basic tasks. In fact, what we found from the professionals was that they were actually thrown into the deep end. They found themselves very much in a sink or swim environment. And I think that again goes back to teams being short-staffed and under-resourced, that very quickly, even new entrants into the sector are given, complex, sophisticated, advanced tasks to work on. In terms of, we heard from the professionals that their first jobs, and that's linked to the first point, there was a huge amount of diversity in their first job. So, they worked on very technical aspects. It might be threat intelligence, it might be malware analysis, through to various other types of tasks such as research, working on cybersecurity policy. And again, that underscores 2 points. One is, just the diversity of the nature of cybersecurity. That lends itself to all of these different types of jobs. And secondly, related to the first point, just, because of understaffed teams, that, these professionals in their early years got to experience a huge variety in their jobs. Very encouragingly, professionals said to us that they had the opportunity to have a lot of support from their team members and their managers. And moving on to mentors, this played a very important role in their first few years of their professional journey. Having a mentor was especially helpful in navigating those intangibles. We all work in organizations where there are unwritten rules, where there are intangibles that need to be navigated. And it was here that the mentors really helped the cybersecurity, early practitioners. The other role, very important role that mentors played was, help them work through the career pathway and the progression journey. So, we know that cybersecurity sector is difficult to navigate. The entries into it are perhaps not completely clear. The entries through it are not completely clear. So mentors played a really important role. And this, takes me back to an early point which I made, which is, for those of you in the audience who are looking to join the sector, please seek out mentors, please seek out networking opportunities. Big project, this was an important one. So this seemed to be the point where early practitioners really pivoted in their career when they were given with a huge responsibility that enabled them to demonstrate their skills and knowledge, was where they really started to make their mark and establish their value. Certifications as achievements. So the professionals said to us that certifications might not be the necessary and sufficient things to achieve in the early years. However, they are important milestones because, well, they help the individuals to keep up to date with latest knowledge, but also they demonstrate to the employers and to clients those milestone achievements. So we've looked at what the current professionals are suggesting to the pursuers in terms of what sorts of skills and knowledge should be developed, as well as what their own journeys look like. I want to now move on to signposting some other resources that are available to you if you're considering careers as your early entrants in cybersecurity. So often we hear that, I don't have enough experience. So can I really take a certification? I don't have experience. I don't have the required expertise or demonstrated expertise as yet in a certain sector or domain. So can I actually, embark on my path of certification? And we just want to highlight that, lack of experience should not be holding you back from starting on your certification journey, because certification journey is really ultimately all about learning, building knowledge, learning about best practices. And so at ISC Squared, we've got, an associate level for which you don't need to have all of the required experience. You can, take the exam and then, continue your journey and as an associate, and ISC Squared is very much there to help you through that journey and help you build your knowledge and experience. Of course, we've got the full membership of ISC Squared. So these are for, more practitioners who have gained the required level and years of experience and knowledge in a particular sector. And here I'd just like to highlight a professional development institute, which has, really, really valuable resource and learning content for cybersecurity practitioners. But of course, in addition to what we do, there are important resources outside, in the wider, market space, in the wider industry. And an important, organization that I think everyone should know about, hear about, is the UK Cybersecurity Council. This became operational in April this year. And I'm very proud to say that ISC Squared is a founding member of the UK Cybersecurity Council. We joined forces with 16 organizations and professional bodies in the industry, and we were awarded a grant from DCMS to set the UK Cybersecurity Council up. A lot of the challenges that the profession is currently trying to address, such as, demystifying it, building kind of clear career pathways into cybersecurity, giving people knowledge, understanding about what it means to progress through the sector, are all of the challenges, areas, and important issues that the UK Cybersecurity Council is going to be focused on. They've got a website, so I'd really encourage you to go on their website and have a look at what they have to offer. The council's aims, as I said, is really, becoming that self-regulatory body, becoming the voice of the cybersecurity profession. And out of all of these points, I really want to bring your attention to this very last one, which is acting as a reference point for cybersecurity professional standards, competence, and commitment. So they're doing a whole piece of work around qualifications framework, careers framework, giving people that clarity on, what are the steps that need to be navigated through this sector. The four main pillars of the council are professional development, absolutely important for anyone working in cybersecurity to keep up to date with with what's happening in the sector. Outreach and diversity, again, so pivotal for this sector. We need individuals from different backgrounds, with different views, with different experiences joining this sector, so that we can really benefit from the wide range of opinions and experiences. Professional ethics, I think this will be of no surprise to anyone who works in cybersecurity, of how important maintaining ethics, being a code of ethics for the sector is. And then finally, thought leadership and influence, where the council is going to play in a very important role. So to conclude my presentation, I just want to highlight some of the main takeaways. There's a huge shortage in the sector, and we need people like you. I stated the skills gap over 3 million, so opportunities are abundant and exciting. There's a vast range of resources out there for you to choose from, as you're taking your early steps through the profession. So make sure that you spend some time researching those options, develop those networks, find a mentor, and just stay focused and stay motivated. So that's all from me. Thank you very much, and I'm sure there'll be time at the end to take some questions. So I'll hand back to you, Neil.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sanjana. That was a fascinating presentation. I really like the things that are happening within the UK Cybersecurity Council, and we've already had a lot of questions come up. So what I was going to say to attendees is, do go on and check out the UK Cybersecurity Council's pages, especially their career roadmap, because they have a really good one on there. And there's absolute wealth of resources and information on that site that will give you no end of avenues to explore. So obviously it's a great initiative, and really, people should be taking advantage of it and using the resources. I'd like to hand over now to a lady called Kaylee Tobel, and Kaylee is basically a sort of works within the resilience, the Chief Resilience Centre within Lloyds Banking Group. And Kaylee's going to be sort of having a chat with you and discussing sort of what initiatives they're running and what they're doing to sort of help enable more women and get more women in to come into cybersecurity. So if you bear with me, Kaylee, I will just transfer ownership over to you for the presentations. And Sanjana, if you're able to make me host again, and I'll hand over to Kaylee.
Thank you, Neil.
Absolutely, Neil. I am just finding how I do that. Sorry, I'm not.
That's all right.
I don't use
I'm there.
Zoom.
I'm there now. That's fine. I will transfer.
Are you there? Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So Kaylee, over to you. I'm making you the host now. So yeah, we look forward to hearing your presentation.
Here we go then. Thank you. Is that showing there, Neil?
Yep, that's showing perfectly. Yep.
Fantastic, lovely. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for attending today. It's great to virtually see you all. As Neil mentioned, I'm Kaylee Tobel, and I look after many of the external relationships and partnerships we have here at Lloyds Banking Group in our, and it's a bit of a mouthful, Chief Resilience and Security Office. The resilience part, I guess, came in a little while ago and is becoming ever more important, particularly since COVID-19. We need to be able to look after the business and come back from these types of events. And as Neil mentions, I lead our Women in Security Mind the Gap initiative and events, and I'm looking forward to telling you a little bit more about that and what we do in terms of inclusion and diversity here at Lloyds Banking Group. And just a couple of the pictures there on the front screen, I have to say, just reflecting on those images back in the day when we could have face-to-face events, it was absolutely fantastic. I dug into my archives to see if I could find any of the screenshots that I've taken since we've had our virtual events, but actually haven't managed to do so because I'm always comparing the events, so I don't actually get the chance to take any images. But never mind, I'll make sure I do that for next time going forwards. Okay then, so women in security, like, why is it an issue? But we recognise that there is the need to create inspiring female role models. Security is a historically male-dominated profession, and I'm sorry to say that there's still only 24% of females in the industry. Around about 2 years ago, we decided to create an initiative to address this very issue and to encourage a more diverse workforce, not only in our Chief Security Office, but within the wider security industry. And really, we've had growing momentum behind this initiative, and we've definitely gone from strength to strength. And we really wanted to share some of the wins that we've had within Lloyds. We have around about 36% female colleagues, and 44% of those are leadership team. I'm really, really super proud to see that our Chief Security Officer, Sharon Barber, is really, really super hands-on, and we're really proud to see that she's our female CISO. But there's still a lot of work to be done, and we're still not equal. So we're still working on this, and we're actively looking to recruit female colleagues into the traditionally male-centric areas and male-centric teams. And reflecting on this yesterday, I was speaking to a lady from a very high-profile sports company who wanted to kind of network with women in security. And she'd said that she was the only person on her security leadership team, and that was female. And I thought, goodness me, don't realise how lucky or how well we've kind of got it in our security team. But that's just a personal reflection. So what we do is we hold events, usually once per quarter, to bring our community together. And like I say, it's gone from strength to strength since we've actually ceased doing our face-to-face events during COVID-19, and we've moved towards a more virtual medium where we host the events via Teams. The panel discussions and networking events offer attendees a chance to explore many of the common misconceptions that people have about the industry. We learn about the diverse career paths, about our panellists, and our panellists are very carefully chosen to reflect the different entry paths, to reflect the different journeys that people have, and also people who are able to share stories and who can tell us a little bit more about their experiences, what types of things and barriers have they come up against, and how did they deal with that, and reflecting back on that a little bit later in their career, what would they perhaps do differently. So it's really, really valuable, particularly from people at various levels in their career, so at least you can identify with one of the panelists. As Sanjana mentioned really, really aptly, mentorship, we feel, is also super important. We feel that mentorship kind of carries on the baton after we've finished our events and allows our community to continue to grow. Gives you the opportunity to talk about any problems you have in a very kind of a secure environment with a person that you can really learn something from and can really help you on your journey and guide you into making some right decisions for you, and providing you with options you might not have really thought of. So we really do put emphasis on that as well. Things that we think are really great from the event, off the back of it, organisations who are involved end up getting a really diverse talent pipeline. We've just recently opened up a LinkedIn group whereby our partnership organisations can share particular vacancies that they have, and it allows you to kind of see what skills and experience is required at particular levels too, even if you're not perhaps looking at that point in time. If anybody would like the link for that, please give me a shout in the chat and I'll post that for you so you can take a little look around. We enjoy growing our community. We've talked about, now that we're quite prevalent in the UK, we want to expand worldwide. So we're now talking to organisations and different companies to see whether we can get them on board and to see whether they would like to come along and join us. And I'll come on to this in a little bit more detail, but we've managed to coin the term ambassadors, because we feel like, yes, our events are about women in security and I'm focused on that. We need to make sure that we have male sponsors, and that also men have a safe space to come along and ask questions about how it is best to support women in the workplace and what more can be done, what is their place. So yeah, so we have a lot of wide attendees, we have Lloyds Banking Group colleagues and industry leading organisations come along. So it's a great chance to network and to talk to some people in different organisations that you wouldn't have thought of, or that you would feel uncomfortable kind of reaching out to ordinarily. Okay, so I think I've already kind of covered that our journey has been on a roller coaster since COVID-19 hit, as we held loads of our events at head office locations, Edinburgh, London. But yeah, now we've gone virtual. It's been fantastic in terms of diverse in our community and attendees, as now we've got no geographical restrictions. We've experimented with times of day to suit new working styles. We've tried to incorporate and understand homeschooling and caring responsibilities as much as we can, and we've managed to expand the community out to, I think it's around about 1,500 people now, and we get roughly about 200 attendees per event. And how have we done that? I would say primarily it's been really organic. I started reaching out to some of my contacts and it's kind of snowballed from there. So kind of spreads word of mouth, to be honest, but I do a lot of work behind the scenes talking to people and bringing them into the fold and getting involved. But we do have plans to expand further, and partner support is really invaluable in helping us to promote the events. So some of the previous things that we've discussed, we like to keep that really relevant, topical. We like it to be practical in terms of takeaways and be really career focused. So you'll see on the top there, you know, we've talked about some very specific topics during COVID. How do you progress your career in times of crisis? How do you keep your resilience going when it feels very difficult? And a lot of the guys on the call today, you must be thinking, well, yeah, I really identify with that. I've been trying to get somewhere. I haven't managed to get there yet. What can I do? So we've talked about that. Yeah, and I think the events have a really down-to-earth feel, and I'll show you some feedback in a moment, but really I think that is what I really pride myself on, is that everybody's super approachable, can answer any question that's put to them, and that there's a really safe space for our attendees. Our mentorship program that I've previously mentioned, we have around about 10 to 15% uptake per event, which I think is fantastic. And we've had 4 direct hires already off the back of that. Every attendee that comes along to our events has the opportunity to apply for mentorship with either one of the panelists that is featuring at that particular event or a member of the Mind the Gap community. We assess each application individually, and we always have somebody in mind, and we do a very warm introduction to that mentor, and we're always there in the background to provide support. And that's just a little testimonial of one of our mentees from last year, who's found that really, you know, they've been able to better navigate situations at work, develop personal skills, and again, what's really important for us all, which we don't like doing, let's face it, is coming out of your comfort zone and developing a network, which can be particularly hard, especially during virtual circumstances. And then for you ambassadors out there, really important role to play. We always have one ambassador panelist per event who can come along and talk about his experiences and provide things from his viewpoint. And there's just a few little kind of pieces of feedback that we've had from our ambassador panelists, who incidentally enjoy the events just as much as our female community. So we really encourage you guys on the call, whether you are male or female, to come along, join our community, attend our events, learn some things, network, have a listen. And you know, we're really super flexible. We try and be really flexible. We have the sessions for an hour, and then afterwards, you know, if you'd like to ask us any further questions, we provide you with, you know, the opportunity to get in touch with us, so that the opportunities don't just stop there, essentially. So yeah, the feedback I think speaks for itself. I've gone old school with the word cloud there, which I'm sure all the panelists will be kind of laughing about a little bit now, but I do love a good word cloud, and I'm not going to stop that anytime soon. So one of the pieces, you know, that really got me was that people feel empowered, motivated, energized by the sessions, interest in problems. You know, COVID can't stop us. When I received that piece of feedback about COVID, I was so chuffed. It was unbelievable. And I think, you know, providing that sense of community during, you know, difficult times like this, where people can come together virtually and have that safe space, has really been invaluable. And like I say, when I do talk to the panelists ahead of the sessions, I do ask them to be as honest and open as they feel comfortable doing so. We get the chat going. We use menti.com to invite feed in from the community. So it's not just the panelists who were able to provide experiences and tips, it's yourselves as well. So it gives you a space to kind of learn things and also to share some of the learns that you've had recently as well, or in the past, and offer support to others. We also really always invite feedback, because, and I never get any really, apart from positive feedback, but I often think I wish somebody would just come along and tell me this is what I would like to see. But we get together with our partnership organisations, and we talk about what we think the kind of the active topics would be, or what we think could be really relevant. But if any of you guys do come along to our events, please feel free to drop us a line and just let us know what you think could be improved or what you really liked about it. Really open to that, because after all, these events are for you. So by you telling us what you would like really does help. So bearing that in mind, I've given it the big sell clearly, but our next event is next Thursday, the 30th, 1 till 2 p.m. We'll be talking about the power of mentorship and networks. So Sanjana, I think this ties in really well to what you were saying about that. We've got 3 fantastic panelists. We've got a lady called Charlotte Nelson from Lloyds Banking Group. She's going to talk about her experiences from both sides of the fence, from being a panelist to provide, from being a mentor to providing to a mentee, and what the differences are. A lady called Kate Bright, who is the CEO of a personal security company called Umbra International Limited. She's such a power lady, and I'm really super inspired by her, so I'm really looking forward to hearing what she has to say. And also Simon Goldsmith, who is our ambassador, so he's a director of InfoSec at OVO Energy. Again, really excited to see what the dynamic is there. Kate and Simon already have an existing mentor-mentee relationship, but they say that it's mutual, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that pans out. Discussion points, those are some of the discussion points that we're going to be covering. I'll not read those out for you, but we would really love to see you there. So if you would like to ask any questions, or if you would like to come along, please pop us a mail over to that box, and I'll get you back to you as soon as possible. After I finish the session, I'll also pop you the Eventbrite link into the chat, so you can register directly if you would like to. I was going to say any questions, but I know you're keeping those to the end, Neil, so I will leave it there. And thank you so much for listening.
Thanks very much, Callie. Look, pleasure having you on board and presenting about what Lloyds Banking Group are doing. I think it's fascinating. I think it's very much a blueprint for success, really, in terms of what employers can do. And we've had lots of questions about the link to Kaylee's group, so we will provide that. Kaylee will put it in the chat. We'll also put it on our LinkedIn page as well, so people want to register and attend that event. That's absolutely fine. So we're now going to moving swiftly on. We're going to now have Professor Gaurav Malik from the University of East London, who's going to basically be talking about sort of computing education and the transition from school to university to workplace, and the importance of choice. So I'm just going to be making Professor Gaurav the host shortly. So he will be going underway, and will be presenting his topic to you. Great.
Thanks very much, Neil. What
No problem.
fantastic presentations, right? Can I just confirm, Neil, you can see my screen?
Yes, we can see
Yeah.
your screen. It's perfect. Thank you.
So I think coming on third, I think everything which has been said by Kaylee and Sanjana, I'm just going to bring it together. And, it's fascinating to see all of the stuff that was being said before with the certification mentorship. So again, so my talk is primarily about, going from school, then onto university, then onto workplace. And again, is a choice. And I think in cybersecurity careers, I think you are spoiled for choice, because one is the wide variety of roles that are available, the wide variety of courses that you can undertake. And I think that's what makes the area so exciting. So my name is, as I said, Gaurav Malik. I'm a course leader on the degree apprenticeship course. I'm going to be talking about apprenticeships as well, which is again, something quite new to the education arena. I do teach on some cybersecurity modules as well. And I'm just going to also share my experience of teaching cybersecurity at UEL. So we're going to look at, and again, Sanjana talked about the value of certification. And if you haven't seen it already, the events which, again, Kaylee was talking about, the thing about mentorship. So it's to understand, what is the role that certifications, degrees, and apprenticeship play. And I think with everything which has been said by Kaylee and Sanjana, I think it's a combination of all of these things. So one of them is not enough, right? So you need to combine these things together. I'm going to then look at what kind of subjects you can choose at school or college, right? So hopefully dispel any myths around that. Choosing the right degree, and if you are thinking of doing a degree, which I encourage you to do, to make your first steps into a cybersecurity career. And again, just talking a little bit about cybersecurity at UEL as well. So this is the common perception that people have. So again, I've just taken a snapshot of some very popular cybersecurity movies. I'm sure there are some which I've forgotten. And the classic it doesn't help that media amplifies what is happening as well. In reality, is the idea of normally it's a person sitting alone in the basement and on the keyboard and playing away, which I think is far away from the truth. So cybersecurity, firstly, you need to be quite qualified to do these things. You need to be in a role. You also, and again, it's not primarily male as well, right? So movies, again, do not do the career much justice. And again, I think it's important that we see away from the common perception of media of cybersecurity. So Sanjana shared the IS squared certification suite. So this is a snapshot. And again, I think some people were asking about links. So at the bottom are a couple of links about cybersecurity certifications out there in the marketplace, and also the different career options that you can have. And I think it's, and again, as Sanjana said, there are different careers which require you to have different certifications, right? And each of the certifications can come with some caveats. So some of them require you to have experience. Some of them require you to be in the workplace because they're very practical, while some are very theoretical, right? So I think it's important when you're looking at certifications as a pathway to get into a career in cybersecurity, you choose the certification wisely. And one of the things you will see is that the certifications tend to follow different levels. So some of them are at introductory levels. Again, Sanjana talked about the ISC squared associate group, right, which I think is how you start off, because again, is the classic catch-22 position of, I don't have experience. How do I get a job? I need experience to get a job, right? So is the challenge that you have. So one of the things I would suggest is that if you are looking at certifications, as a way, if you already have a degree and you want to, take some first steps into the area of cybersecurity, choose the certification very carefully, right? Because I think it has come from a few to quite a lot of them. And again, these are all well regarded. So the certification is not something that I've dreamt up in my bedroom, right? These are valid certifications. So choose the right certification for the right career. And again, Kaylee talked about resilience is something that we did not have. We were not talking about it 10 years ago. So the cybersecurity career is changing quite a lot. So choose the certification wisely. So once you've thought of the certification, so this is for people who already might be in a job, who might be looking at changing careers. I think many of the soft skills that was outlined in Sanjana's presentation adds to adds to the experience as well. And again, when Katie talked about mentors, which I'm going to talk about in a second, so you don't have to be born with a cybersecurity dummy in your mouth, right? You can enter this career, and again, all the experience that you might have in a different profession, you can bring it to cybersecurity as well. So besides certifications, obviously there's a wide suite of universities offering degrees in cybersecurity, and we offer a few of them as well. And there are quite a lot of them. So again, there's a quick search on UCAS. So there were 157 different courses from 75 universities. And it doesn't really matter, right? So if the course has the title cybersecurity, it in essence is a computer science course with an emphasis on cybersecurity, right? So whether you choose a degree in computer science, where you study some cybersecurity modules, or you choose a degree which is primarily cybersecurity, it will not affect your job hunting chances because they're all computer science degrees. But be very careful when you are looking at degrees, because especially at the master's level, because some master's degree require you to have an undergraduate degree in computer science. So we offer a master's in information security and digital forensics, for which you need to have an undergraduate degree in computer science. So the title of the degree doesn't really matter that much. And again, when your CV comes across, somebody in the recruitment of the company, if they see that you have a computer science degree, you have a degree with the title cybersecurity in it, it really isn't going to change that much. But one thing which you can do is, and again, I'm going to be talking to you about the different kind of degrees, which you can go on to and how do you choose them. Look at what the degree can offer you over and above. The third thing, which is again becoming quite popular in the last few years, is the idea of apprenticeship. And I'm, as you know, as I mentioned before, I'm the course leader of the apprenticeship courses in digital at UEL. So I would encourage everyone to choose apprenticeship as a way to getting a degree and to get work experience as well. However, it's extremely competitive. There are a huge number of people applying for these roles, right? So, but the good thing is, once you have this, you already have a job from day one, and you're studying a degree as well. So it's what you would call is learn and earn. So you don't have a debt of £27,000 to pay at the end of it, and you have 3 years experience. So the cybersecurity technical professional, which is an integrated degree, is a computer science degree, right? Within which, and you'll get work experience as well. And at the end of it, you have a degree in your hand, you have 3 years experience, and, the world is yours for the taking. But also you can tend to do, standalone courses, which you can find with colleges and other training providers. So you can do the cybersecurity technician course, which is level 3, then you can progress onto the level 4, and then you can come onto the degree as well. So do look at apprenticeships as a way of, entering the area. So this is especially for school leavers. However, if you already have a degree, you can still do an apprenticeship. So we have people doing apprentices who have a PhD, people who have degrees in different subjects. So having a degree does not, or any qualification, does not preclude you from coming and doing an apprenticeship as well. But just bear in mind the competition is severe. There's a lot of people applying for that. So how do you choose the right level 3 qualifications? Well, so what A-level subject do you choose? Do you choose computer science, IT? Do you do IB, BTech, access to HE? The reality is in 2021, most computer science courses do not require you to do computer science at A levels. There are a few that may require you to do that. But for example, the course that we offer at UEL, as long as you have a level 3 qualification, which is numerate, most of our modules will take you from 0 to hero. So when you're looking at the university you want to apply for, do take a look at what are the level 3 requirements. And it's good to have a STEM background, but I would say you have people work in computer science who have got backgrounds in music, and music is very mathematical as well, right? You have people who've done psychology, people who've done geography. So again, try to choose the right level 3 qualifications, right? That does not limit your options when it comes to doing a degree. So speak to the career advisors in your school or college, look at the degree that you might want to go on to, and then try to choose your what I would call the right level 3 qualifications. However, if you do, an A level in music languages, and the social sciences, you can still do a computer science degree, right? Because there are a lot of providers out there who offer computer science degrees for people who haven't done computer science for the A levels. So when you're choosing the right course, right? So my option would be always to think backwards. So if you're somebody who, who's good into project management, somebody's organized, so think about the skills that you have. Think about the kind of job that you want, right? So if you always wanted to be a veterinary, right, don't choose a degree in computer science. That will not make you very happy at the end of the day, right? So think backwards, think of the kind of job that you want. The other thing that you can do is to look at accreditation, right? So the same way you have the General Medical Council that looks after medicine. So in computing, you have the British Computer Society, that's the accrediting body for computer science courses, and also the Institute of Electrical Engineering, which also accredits courses as well. In the UK, most universities are owned by the state, right? So you will find that the variation is very slight, if any, because we're all funded by the same funding body. So do take a look at whether the course is accredited, because if you want to become a chartered professional for the BCS, you need to have studied an accredited degree. And the other one is certification, right? See what other certification that the course is able to offer you. So for example, on the cybersecurity module that I mentioned, we are aligned to the CompTIA suite of certifications, right? So that is something that you get as an added bonus. So again, choosing where to study. So obviously location is quite important, right? So you don't want to be commuting, for 2 hours on the train, right? The other thing is look at the lab facilities. So computing is not a theoretical subject. So it is something which is very practical, very hands-on. So do make sure that you take the opportunity to visit the university so you can see the lab facilities. And this applies both for masters and for undergraduate. You would not buy a pair of jeans without trying it on. So why would you spend £9,000 on a degree without seeing what the institution is offering? Because everybody tries to make their brochures and websites glossy, but it's only when you come to the campus and you see the facilities, you have an idea of what you'll be using. The quality of the program, as I said, because we all state funded, does not tend to vary that much. Also look at placement opportunities. So again, Kaylee mentioned about mentorship, right? See what are you able to do? Can you get some practical experience while you're studying? Are you able to network while you're studying for the degree as well? Vendor qualifications already mentioned, is something you should be looking at. So because many universities will offer you degrees where you get certifications alongside. So it means that you don't have to go and take the certifications over and above what you're studying. And then look at the general facilities that the institution has. So how do you explore your passion, right? Again, so Kelly, on the 30th of September, I got my diary marked. So I'll be coming along to the event as well. So MOOCs is a good start, right? So I think in 2021, you are spoiled for choice. So when I was doing my undergrad, MOOCs did not exist. You had to go to libraries and borrow books. Nowadays, if you have something, and many of the MOOC courses are free. So whether it be FutureLearn, Coursera, edX, many of the courses are free. So do explore your passion by doing some MOOC courses. And again, this adds to your brand value as well. So again, when Sanjana was talking about having certifications is great, but also on LinkedIn, which is the primary way in which you advertise brand you can say that I've done this Coursera course, I've done this FutureLearn course. That just adds to, it shows to the employer that you're exploring your passion, you're taking interest in the subject. Attend events. So, it's great to see so many of you are here, and events can both be in the, in face-to-face or be virtual as well. And again, it's about networking, right? So the event, the pictures that Kaylee was sharing, people sitting. So attend the event is one thing, you absorb the knowledge, but it's over the teas and coffee where you get to meet the CEO, the CTO, the cybersecurity officer of the company, right? Is a network which really helps as well. And again, if you're based in London, you're spoiled for choice. There's an event almost every week, which is taking place, whether it be in Excel or whether it be in the professional bodies as well. So again, Sanjana mentioned about the ISC squared chapters. So the chapters tend to do events as well. And all of these events are free to attend, right? And as I said, it's not only the knowledge that you'll gain, it's also the networking that you'll do as well. Mentorship. And again, I think Katie has talked a lot about it, so I won't rub it anymore. But mentorship is, again, how you can get into the sector, right? Because there are people who are willing to help you, but you just have to make the right connections to, to meet these people. So again, just a little bit about UEL. So these are what our labs look like. And again, you can see happy faces, right? And unfortunately, we don't bribe our students enough for them to be smiling. So these are genuine pictures that we've taken. And also one of the things that we've done is over the pandemic, we've tried to leverage by using technology like MindTap. And again, as I said, MindTap is a fantastic technology, which is using virtual machines. So you've got 5 virtual machines over there, which you were not able to do many years ago, right? So this means you could be doing this in one of our fantastic labs, or you could be doing it in your pajama, on your computer, right? So you have all of these things available, and all of these courses, whether you're doing the degree with us or not, you can do these, online as well. And there are many providers who offer these courses as a standalone. So again, a little bit about UEL, all right? So, I will say fantastic stuff. So again, rated first for students' satisfaction in the UK, right? And this is computing at UEL, right? So, an award-winning department with lots of people who are experienced in the cybersecurity area. So as I said, we have an undergraduate degree in cybersecurity and networks. We also have an MSc. And from what I understood, the only professional doctorate in information security and digital forensics. So if you have an experience in the area, it's a professional doctorate, which lasts for 3 years, after which you get to add the letters DR to the front of your name. A little bit about our cybersecurity expertise. Again, you might see our colleagues on television quite often. And again, this is where I value certifications quite a lot, because in the computing area, it's a certification that you add value to the employer to say, and for me, certification is like having a driving license. Anybody can say they know how to drive. Is when you've got a driving license, you prove that you have a skill to do a certain thing. And I think that pretty much brings me back to the end of my presentation. So thank you again for your attention. So I'll pass you back to Neil.
Thank you very much, Gaurav. That was excellent presentation. Thank you very much indeed. And lots of interesting questions and lots of things have come through from people. So we will endeavour to answer as many questions as we can. We've just gone over to our last presentation, which is actually a pre-recorded one from Chris Dunning-Walton, who is a director at InfoSec People, and they're a specialist recruiter within cybersecurity. So this presentation will very much give you tips and tricks to sort of getting involved in cyber and what you can do around things like LinkedIn and we'll echo some of the things that Gaurav and Kaylee and Sanjana have highlighted as well. So yeah, I'll bear with us while we launch this, and yeah, we look forward to hearing your thoughts on this shortly.
Hello, my name is Chris Dunning-Walton, and I am the Managing Director of a recruitment company called InfoSec People, a specialist in the cybersecurity sector. And I'm also one of the directors of Cyber Cheltenham, CyNAM, which is the platform for cyber tech innovation and the community that's here in Cheltenham and Gloucestershire. Absolutely delighted to be here talking with you virtually. And hopefully I'm going to be able to give you some tips and tricks and things to think about as you're starting your career in cybersecurity, which is a fantastic place to be working right now, but also has a big future as well as the sector grows and evolves. So the kind of things we're going to be talking about today are what skills employers are looking for, what makes somebody employable, what employers are looking for in you as a person, some qualifications that could be good and for you to start thinking about at this stage, and also things like technical skills and non-technical skills to be thinking about as well as you enter the sector. I'm going to try and share my screen so that you can see some data and some things as well throughout the brief presentation. But I hope you find it useful as you move forward. So, what skills are employers looking for? Well, firstly, I'd like to say that at the moment, cybersecurity, despite COVID, has been a very challenging one. Cybersecurity is still a real growth sector in the UK, with a lot of careers, a lot of opportunities still opening out at this moment in time. Companies of any size right now are having to rely on technology more than ever before as they go through rapid digitalization, as they embrace things like cloud, virtual working, and having people working from home. That's really become the new norm. So cybersecurity is naturally a necessary part of the new norm of what companies are having to go through in using technology much more effectively because of the challenges that COVID-19 has put on the whole of the UK, really. So the good news is that in the cybersecurity sector right now, there's hiring in every single discipline you can think of, really. So as somebody starting out in the sector, that really is good news for you. That's me. Let me move forward for you. So the current live vacancies that we've got are, as we were looking at the industry this end, just through a couple of websites that advertise jobs: junior threat intelligence professionals, junior penetration testers, junior security analysts, junior security engineers, junior business analysts. There are a multitude of different ways that you can enter the industry. So there really isn't an area that's not hiring right now for cybersecurity. Really hot areas of growth, anything to do with cloud and digital security, that's a real area of growth at this moment in time. Training and awareness is also a really key area of growth within cybersecurity, as businesses realize that cybersecurity is not just a technical challenge, it's also a challenge from a cultural point of view, from a personal point of view, around how people use technology as well. So for people who are not technical, that might be a route to really consider, and actually is a real need at this moment in time, bridging the gap between deeply technical challenges and the challenge of how people use technology as well. So a real growth area at the moment. So what makes somebody employable? I'm a big believer that whatever you do in life, whatever you do as a career, if you can find an area that you're really, really passionate about and make that your job, you will never have a bad day. If you can make your hobby or your lifetime passion something that you actually make money from, you'll be a very happy person in life. So the most important advice I can give from all of today would be to find something that you are passionate about, that you want to be involved with, that you think you can get up and feel enthused about, because that passion will make you eminently employable. And someone will always pay for an expert, whether that's in cybersecurity, cybersecurity training and awareness, whether it's in skiing, if you want to be a ski instructor, whether you want to be a gardener, whether you want to be a surfing instructor. I would love to be a surfing instructor, not good enough at surfing. But the most important thing for anybody going into a career, coming out of school, university, or moving into a new walk of life, is to try and find something that you're passionate about. If you can find something you're passionate about, that will resonate with people that want to employ you. Okay, so you don't need to know all the answers, by the way. You don't need to know, I want to be a penetration tester. I've always wanted to be a penetration tester. If you do want to be a penetration tester, fantastic, great. But you might just know that you want to be in the cybersecurity sector, not quite sure what that looks like just yet. But what you don't want to be doing is working in data analytics, working in threat research. So it's just as good an answer is to say, well, I'm not interested in these areas, but I'm really interested in these areas, as it is to have an absolute understanding of what you want to do. But the most important thing is that you're actually thinking about what you would enjoy, what you feel your skills are going to be matched against, and taking action to find a way to enter that area. Also at this level, when we're talking about what skills employers are looking for, we're not just talking about technical skills, we're not just talking about what you've learned, but it's also about how you can acquire new skills as well. That's what employers are really after. And the kind of areas, the softer areas that are absolutely critical for employers being able to get excited about you as an individual are you passionate about the subject? Talk about that just now, and that can come through by demonstrating that passion. You know, what have you done to learn about that particular job role? What have you done in your spare time to investigate the tools you need to learn more about that? Who have you talked to in your network of people and contacts and friends and family who maybe work in that sector at this moment in time. You know, second part is around being proactive. I've just talked about that. The more proactive you can be in learning more about what that kind of job would entail, whether it's going to be right for you, and finding out about the kinds of people that are in that industry, the better that can be. Curiosity as well. Employers love people who are curious, people who can solve problems, who aren't just happy going with the status quo. Don't get me wrong. There's always a place for people who don't want to challenge things, but also very good thing is to be thinking laterally about can we do this slightly better. Enthusiasm is something that a lot of the companies that we work with, when they're talking to potential candidates and people they want to hire, if they can find somebody who's really enthusiastic, not just about the job, but about the company that they're going to be working for, that's a really important and key recipe to whether or not they actually want to hire that person. You know, the dreaded answer of, well, what do you want to do and why do you want to come and work with our company? The worst answer you can give is, I don't know. Because it really doesn't show any enthusiasm, it doesn't show any passion, doesn't show any real interest in why you're there and what that company can do for you as a career. And that's also really, really key. The technical skills are obviously very key in certain areas within cybersecurity. So if you've got a technical aptitude in whether it's coding or you've got a natural inquisitive nature that means you like to break things, there's always going to be some interesting opportunities for you in cybersecurity. But I always say that if you can match those technical skills with the softer skills around, you know, passion, proactivity, being curious and being enthusiastic, that will stand you in really, really good stead. But remember, it's a two-way street. So if you're speaking to a company about a new opportunity and something that you're interested in, make sure that it's a company for you, because you're likely going to be working for that new company, that new employer, for maybe a third of your life. And when I say a third of your life, I mean a third of your time of your life. Gone are the days now that actually you get a job for life. And the average time for people working in the industry, the average tenure between joining a new company is about 2.5 years actually in cybersecurity. So it's not a job for life anymore, but it's certainly a job where you're going to be working the better part of 37, maybe 40 hours a week at. So you need to make sure that that employer is somebody that you want to work with. So questions around, you know, how can you help me to become the best version of myself? How can you help me along my route of growth and development? You know, what other new graduates or starters or apprentices have worked for your company previously, and where are they now? These are all really good questions to ask, so that you're vetting whether this is a company that you want to work for, which is a really, really key ingredient at the end of the day. You've got to find a company that not only gives you a platform to enter the industry, but also to stay there and to grow. So always make it a two-way conversation, and consider the company culture if that really matches you. Training and development is also a really key area, actually. And I'm going to talk about that from a qualification point of view. Qualifications are very important in cybersecurity for certain people. I say that with a little bit of a clench bit, because some people really covet in cybersecurity qualifications. Why? Usually, if we're talking in a technical capacity, technical people really covet mastery. They like to know that what they're doing is at a high level. They like to get a badge that says that it's a high level. That's no bad thing. But also, I would encourage you not to get badges for badges' sake. Some of the most talented cybersecurity experts I know in the world, in the industry, don't have any certifications to the name at all, but they don't really need them. So be careful in just getting badges at this stage. But at this stage, there is no bad area for getting any qualifications or certifications that you can. I think it's Warren Buffett who says the best investment, you can't see it on your screens there probably, but the best investment you can ever make is in yourself. And I totally agree with that. So whatever route you're going down, there are several different training and certification bodies and partners that can start you off with some baseline certification. I've got two on the screen here, Merced Labs, who do some fantastic labs with student digital cybersecurity. Their cybersecurity academy is great. A lot of it is free. And Immersive Labs are a great growth company and shining example of a scale up in the Southwest, actually, in cybersecurity, and they're doing a fantastic job. A lot of you may well have heard of them. There's also Cybery. They do fantastic work in and around cybersecurity training and development. Caps Lock are a new cyber scale up, actually, that are looking to offer people training and development in cybersecurity. And what they do is there's always been a difficulty in paying for quite expensive certifications in cybersecurity upfront and then trying to get a job. So what Caps Lock's model is that they give you the training and development for the certification to demonstrate that you can enter the industry. And when you're earning a certain amount of money, then you pay that back, just like you do with a student loan, for example. So you get you graduate university, you start paying it back your student loan when you start earning more money. The Caps Lock have a really cool opportunity to check out there as well. So I hope that helps. There are a number of different baseline certifications you can look to do if you look hard enough. Some are free, which is great. Some are require a little bit of investment, but that's not a bad thing either. So that's about it. I hope that's been a whistle-stop tour, really, of some of the things I'd say are worth thinking about if you enter the industry. But attitude, appetite, aptitude, the 3 A's, I cannot emphasize how important those things are for anybody who's entering any industry, really. And those 3 things don't take any kind of technical training, okay? And in order to be enthusiastic, you don't have to be somebody who's very animated to be enthusiastic. You could be very quiet about being enthusiastic, but you could demonstrate being enthusiastic through what I found out about this, about your company, about this, about the job that I'm applying for, about this is where I want to go. I'm really passionate about that. Doesn't mean you have to be very loud about being enthusiastic. You can be enthusiastic in your own way. So be true to yourself. Find something you can be passionate about. Definitely think about entering the industry, because it really is a fantastic time to be in cybersecurity, despite all the challenges that 2020 has brought. And I wish you every success in finding a career that you can really enjoy and be passionate about.
I would just like to say a big thanks to Chris. He's unable to make the broadcast today, so he did a pre-prepared presentation. So what we'd like to do now is perhaps try and sort of identify some of the key questions that have come up during the broadcast. Unfortunately, due to time constraints, we won't be able to answer everyone's question, but certainly we will do our very best to answer as many as we can that have come through. So firstly, I'd like to offer this over to Sanjana. I mean, as far as one of the questions that we've had come in, and it's one that we do get asked quite a lot, is what do you kind of consider is the optimum time to, say, study for a CISP course? I mean, if you're a candidate that's worked in or been working through a degree course, either bachelor's or master's, you know, when's the optimum time to take a CISP? Should you be thinking about it immediately after? Does your year's experience doing your degree count towards? Because the general consensus is that CISP is widely regarded as a leading industry certification, but a lot of people are aware that you need 5 years worth of experience before you should be taking it. So what's your kind of thought process in terms of sort of what's the optimum time and what should people be doing?
Yeah, great question, Neil. Thank you. And thank you to the other panelists also for your fascinating presentations. I learned loads, so thank you for that. My answer in short is it all depends on when an individual is ready to take CISSP, or for that matter, any other certification. I think it's as I, showed in my presentation, lack of experience should not be holding anyone back from taking CISSP. We've got the associate status where if, an individual who's doing their undergraduate degree or a master's degree, and if they feel ready to take CISSP, I'd strongly encourage them to do that, and then to embark on the journey of, accumulating the necessary experience and and working towards a full CISSP, if you like. So I think there are many advantages to starting early on that journey, but it all depends on when an individual is ready to take the exam.
Okay, that's a great answer. Also, another question that we've had come up is there value in taking the SSCP certification in advance of the CISP? And what are the benefits of this approach? Are you kind of sort of setting yourself up to take a CISP at a later stage through this certification? And yeah, if you could give us some idea on what that sort of process is really.
Absolutely. Again, I think that's that's another great question, and my answer would be it again depends on what the individual is seeking to do, because these two certifications, CISSP and SSCP, and in fact, all the certifications that are out there in the market have been developed for very specific purposes and, for specific contexts. So, SSCP, for example, is known for its immense amount of technical depth. And it only requires, 1 year of experience. So I see, why there would be that sort of, it would, many people might want to embark on their certification journey by taking SSCP first. However, CISSP has its own advantages and benefits because, it provides that breadth of experience and knowledge for working with management, for, developing security strategies, so they're in a way, I feel unable to compare the two because they're developed for different purposes. But that's not to say that, a person shouldn't start with SSCP, move on to CISSP, or even the other way around. It sort of all depends on what roles the individual is wanting to work in. But they have very different focuses, is the point to remember.
Okay, that's great answer. Just sort of following on from that, I mean, what's the reason that you think that CISP has become one of the leading sort of certifications for a cyber professional? I mean, how have you arrived at this point? I think it's quite an interesting one to get your take on that.
So CISSP is widely recognized in the industry. I mean, we did some research last year looking at sort of how many job adverts, ask for various certifications, including, looking at CISSP, and there was a, very high proportion of jobs that were either mandating or, desiring CISSPs. And I think it all kind of points to two main things. One is the professional doors that it opens. It's widely recognized. It's, employers know that if they've got a CISSP in India and a CISSP certified individual in Mexico, that, they come with the same critical mass of information. So that sort of, standardization in expertise that it brings, helps, I think, inspire confidence in employers and the wider industry. So I think that's one of the huge benefits of CISSP. And then coming back to something that I mentioned earlier is its great focus on helping individuals move from purely maybe technical role into more, managerial skill set. So, how does one communicate cybersecurity risk to the board? How does one sort of ensure that, cybersecurity is in the DNA of the organization? That those sorts of, communication strategies and, overall strategies are very much part and parcel of CISSP.
No, that's great answers there. I mean, I've actually got another couple of questions, but if you don't mind, I would like to revisit some of those with you, and I'll ask. I've had a question come in that I'd like to ask Gaurav, and I've got another one for Kaylee shortly as well. So the question that I've had is what we've come in from the audience is what really is the next step for a master's graduate of cybersecurity? Should it be that they look at doing an apprenticeship or some sort of certification? Obviously, depending on the position that you're aiming for. I mean, what would you say is? I mean, really, this question, I suppose I could ask this to all of you guys, and perhaps we'll go round and see what your thoughts are on this. So, but yeah, it'd be great to hear kind of what you think if you newly qualified, let's say in a bachelor's or a master's in cybersecurity or computer science. What should you be thinking about as your next steps?
Thanks, Neil. I was about to type an answer to the person. I think, first of all, let's look at what you can't do, right? So if you already have a master's in cybersecurity, that will eliminate you from some apprenticeships. Because apprenticeships, you cannot do an apprenticeship if you already have a qualification in that area. So I think Bartosz was attending. If you had a degree in performing arts or a degree in music, you could do an apprenticeship in cybersecurity, but you have a master's in cybersecurity. So you have that core knowledge. And again, as Sanjana said, so one is certifications add value to what you already have. Certifications do not substitute academic knowledge, and academic degrees do not substitute certifications. They both work hand in hand. So there are two things that you need to do. You need to decide, and I know it's very hard, what do you see your career in cybersecurity to be? Cybersecurity has gone a long way from what was there 10 years ago. So there are different roles. So you need to think to yourself, what pathway do I need to follow in cybersecurity? If you're undecided, you can do generic certifications, which can add value, and no certification is not of value. So that's the first thing. And the second thing, like Kaylee, is you need to get into the network with the right people. So the two things would be, one is you already have the fundamentals, you have your degree, get the certification for the career that you're looking for, and get to meet the people who will be ending up hiring you. So sorry, it's a vague answer, but I hope that helps you.
No, I think that's a great answer. I think what I've seen certainly from everyone's presentations is this whole thing of looking at mentoring, looking at what you're doing on LinkedIn, looking at attending events. These are all simple things that you can do, that anyone can do. And I think really what I take from this, and hopefully the people and attendees on the broadcast is, look, what we tried to do here is really open other doors and open other avenues to you to explore. It's really about having a look at all of the different areas that you can encompass. Finding out, looking at things like career roadmaps, and then deciding what area of specialization you want to go into, and then taking the appropriate steps, the certifications to build towards that sort of process. I'd like to move on, if possible, and ask Kaylee a question, because she's been sitting there very quietly and we haven't asked her a question yet. So Kaylee, again, I'll throw this open to the panel if you want to contribute on this as well. Kaylee, what I was going to ask was, it's well documented within cybersecurity that the whole industry needs to become more representative of all sectors of society. And what ways do you think that employers, obviously you coming from Lloyds Bank, and obviously your initiatives that you're running, what ways can they actually achieve a better hiring balance? I mean, if let's say, for example, you joined a new company or whatever, I mean, what would be your kind of steps to kind of opening the doors and trying to make it more appealing? And is there a kind of a blueprint of success that can be, sort of copied or utilized elsewhere?
I think in terms of improving the hiring process, I mean, there's some practical things that we've been looking at, such as changing the wording in the job adverts themselves to make sure that the language that's used is more inclusive across the board. It's a particular piece of software, I believe it's called Percepio, or something very similar. So we use that. We also use a variety of pools to recruit from. So making sure it's not the same ones. We do diversify in who we speak to, and I think historically sometimes recruitment's either been done solely internally, solely externally, not a mixture of the two. So mixing those two things up, making sure you've got kind of as diverse and a wide pool of applicants as possible, and you've got to think outside the box. So where are you going to find these people? Where are you going to get these people from? So like I say, we have a number of organisations who we work with and partner with. We all work together. We all help to promote each other's vacancies, and we all share best practice. So it's a little bit about doing that. I think your second part of your question was, internally, if you are recruited into a company, how can you be involved and how can you support that in increasing that diversity? We have a number of initiatives internally which look at inclusion and diversity in networks. So I'd encourage our listeners to join those networks, whether those be internally within the company, externally, and soak up exactly what's being discussed and put your ideas forward. There's never, there's never a bad idea. I wouldn't say there's a particular blueprint, because I believe that every organisation is different. Every culture within an organisation is different. But I was reading something today which was talking about a particular aspect of security, but it all focuses down in on the culture itself. Is the culture open? Do colleagues feel comfortable airing their opinions? Can they bring their whole self to work? Can they be themselves at work? And that is really, really super important, whether that be gender, whether that be your culture, your background. I think that's really great. And to be honest with you, like I say, a blueprint, I don't think you can lift and drop that. It has to be cultivated over time, and it has to be worked hard on. And the management and leadership all have to be on board too. So I think when candidates and colleagues see the leadership on board and doing what they say they would like to happen and making it happen, that's when you bring everybody else along the journey, and that's when you bring about change. Sorry if I rambled on a little bit there.
No, that's fine. It's a good answer. Sanjana, what's your kind of take on this question as well? I mean, what do you think is a kind of a good blueprint for success, really?
Yeah, I think it'd be hard to say what blueprint is. I think it's a combination of different initiatives and different types of efforts. What I think is that it's a completely shared responsibility. Industry needs to take certain steps, as Kaylee outlined, and the fantastic work that's happening at your organization, Kaylee, needs to be duplicated in other organizations as well. I can speak from the perspective of a professional body, I think, and certainly as an advocacy, as an advocate for the profession, we are very invested in ensuring that the industry, academia, government sector all understand the value of diversity in this sector. So I think it's a joint effort, and I think different types of initiatives need to be started within different parts of the ecosystem for this to really work. And yeah, so I think it's a collaborative effort. I think changes to things like job descriptions, but also thought leadership on this topic. And again, coming back to the UK Cybersecurity Council, which is going to play a pivotal role in leading on these topics and ensuring that, people are taking diversity and inclusion in cyber seriously.
That's a great answer. I mean, we're coming towards the end of our sort of time now, and we've had lots and lots of questions from people. So what I'm going to do is we will be taking as many questions as we can, and we will be looking at compiling a blog and trying to answer all of your questions. And obviously what I'll do is I'll contact the panel respectively and ask them which questions they would like to answer. And but I'd just like to say, firstly, a big thanks to all of our panelists today for taking the time and the effort for joining us on the broadcast and giving all their answers. And I'd also like to say a big thanks to all the attendees for joining us. And hopefully it's given you some insights and some ideas as to where you can take your pathway and avenues of investigation. we've got some more of these webinars coming up. So they will be on different topics, but we will be trying to cover as many avenues as we can within entry-level roles in cybersecurity. So please do keep an eye out for our LinkedIn page. Check out our blogs and stuff that we publish under the events, and also obviously all of our respective panelists. They've got some great blogs. They've got some more webinars. They've got sessions. I know IC2 has a wealth of articles that you know, if you're not sure what to do, it's worth having a look at their site and exploring it. And I'm sure that again for Kaylee and Gaurav, there's a wealth of resources that they'll be happy to share with sort of the attendees and stuff. And the actual broadcast will be available on demand as well. So if you missed any of the slides, we won't be sharing slide decks, but you will be able to watch the broadcast again, and you'll be able to see people's presentations. So I'd just like to wrap up and say thanks ever so much for joining us, and we look forward to speaking with you and welcome you to the next edition.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. We'll speak soon. All the best. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Neil, are you wanting us to hang on or not?
Sorry, I've just got to, we will just be ending the recording shortly. So yeah, bear with me 2 seconds.